Hi, welcome to episode 9 of the Plant Your Energy podcast. My name is Cheryl Armstrong.
And I'm Mark Moses.
And today our guest is Colleen Speno. And before I let her get into sharing her story and the incredible things that she's doing, just want to share a little backstory about her and I. I had briefly moved up to Pueblo, Colorado, the year after my mom died. So that would have been 2023. And I had the opportunity, I was working with the Department of Corrections at the time, taking my class into the facility. And I had the honor of meeting Colleen in I think it was the only class I actually taught in person at La Vista Correctional Facility. The others were done virtually. And then after that, we had a couple girls running it instead of me. But Colleen was in the class that I got to go into every week. And so I really had a special bond with the women in that class. And what stood out to me about Colleen at the time, because she wasn't someone that I had known when I was incarcerated, I think she came after I was out. And so I remember her telling me when I went in one night, she's like, I want to do what you are doing. And what she was referring to mostly was that I had gotten a job um, at Red Rocks Community College as an adjunct professor. So I was going to be having the opportunity to go in and teach classes. Sadly, even though it was the right thing for me, I did walk away from that opportunity because I wanted to make a home for myself in Arizona. So it played out in a way to where I wish I could have brought the jobs back with me. And now Colleen, and I'll let her share how she got to where she's at, but she's actually she started working for Red Rock. She did exactly what she said she wanted to do. And it's really cool how things just have played out in her life. And so welcome. And I'll let you kind of start with where we met and just kind of take it from there. And if you want to share a little bit about kind of what got you incarcerated and where you were at with that too, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just want to say thank you, Cheryl and Mark. I'm super excited to be here talking with you all today. I really like sharing my story because I think stories like yours, stories like mine, stories like Mark's and David Carrillo, and everyone that I actually took classes with when I was at La Vista, those stories are so important for bringing people hope, and it lets people know that they can do it, and that I kind of look at all of us as beacons of hope to everyone that's still on the inside. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what got me to La Vista Correctional Facility, where you and I met. And that was, I was convicted of a white collar crime. I received a 6-year sentence. And that was not my first time being justice involved. It was my second. And so at that time, really thought that my life was over, that I had no purpose, that I wasn't enough, and that I really needed to face myself. And what I learned through my whole prison stint was that prison didn't define me. It just helped me face who I was, and it really encouraged me to make the changes in my life that I needed to make to move forward. And I met you at a time when I was really searching inside of CDOC to figure out what that purpose was going to be. I was already involved in the ABE program, which is the Adult Basic Education curriculum. And what CDOC was doing was they were teaching people who had either an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree how to become teachers so that we could get jobs when we got out of CDOC. But there's kind of a funny backstory to that, because when I spent several months at Denver Women's, and then I moved to La Vista, and I I was bored. I was just so searching for something in my life, and I walked by this bulletin board. I must have walked by this bulletin board like 10 times, because there was a flyer. And there was a flyer for this ABE program, and it talked about second chances. and it talked about teaching and, hey, do you already have a degree? Do you want to give back? Well, I walked by it the first time, and my mindset when I was first in prison was I couldn't do anything. Nobody was going to want to, it was like doomsday. It was just gloom and doom for me. But I kept going back. There was something that kept pulling me back to that bulletin board. And I decided to, I think on the 15th time, I wrote down all the information. I applied for the program and I got into the program. So when I met you, I think I was just finishing up the ABE program. But when I took the Plant Your Energy class, that was really the catalyst that, and your story of, wow, if this woman can go out and make a difference in the world, I can go out and I can make a difference in the world. And your Plant Your Energy materials, I dove into them, and your material is what I think finally was a turning point for me. I was exhausted at that point. I was exhausted by my life. I was exhausted by the choices I had made in my life. And at that time, I thought my mistakes were like the truest thing that represented me. And it was your class that really made me stop and think, okay, my life isn't over and it's not too late to change. And, when you're incarcerated, I think that you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you are so focused on the immediate, like the today. And I think that that's one thing that people who are incarcerated have to learn, is that we got to get out of survival mode, because when you're in survival mode, there's no room to dream about tomorrow. And what your class did for me was it helped me dream about tomorrow. And that's why the work that you do, my friendship with you, my professional relationship with you means so much to me, because you definitely were the catalyst that helped me propel forward. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
It's always nice to hear that what you're doing is actually working for someone, even if it's one person, to know that
mhm.
you had an impact, and what you have done to know that I played a part, a role in your success. That is a big deal, because what you're doing is incredible.
Thank you so much. I love my work. Like, I spent a lot of years, like, how you look at people, like, and I actually did this with you too. I was like, wow, there's another person in my life that loves their work. They are absorbed in their work. And I just never had that before. And
Mm.
now I have that in my work. I have a sense of purpose. When I go to work, like, and if I see an article that relates to my job, I just devour it. And I always like admired people from afar that like devoured their work and really um found passion. And I just never had that. And I might have been, I'm just a late bloomer is what I call myself.
That's right. That's right. So I'd like to hear about when you got out and how
Mhm.
you got to Red Rocks Community College.
This is actually quite this is a funny story. Before I ever left CDOC, Dr. John Dunsmore, who's one of my mentors. Um,
Same, same.
yeah,
I think that, can we just take one real quick moment to
yes,
acknowledge that this man changed probably both of our lives.
he did.
Uh,
Yeah,
Dr. John Dunsmore was a connection and friend of a woman named Heike, who was a past employee at La Vista. I worked for Heike as the reentry parapro for 2.5 years before I got on the dog program. And that was how I met John. And he used to bring in the OSHA classes.
yep,
Well, I ended up, and he kind of mentored me. I ended up helping him kind of run some of the classes and doing the admin work for him behind the scenes. And I really built a connection with him. And he was the man that I didn't necessarily seek out employment at Red Rocks. He believed in me so much. He said, I want to help you get a job here. And so he was a huge advocate for people who he saw kind of really, I guess, stood out in a sense, is just hungry for change
Yeah.
and having that drive to be successful. And so that was my connection with them. And then I'll let you share your side of that.
Absolutely. Well, I will confess that I was completely shameless in my approach. I just,
I
I,
love it.
I was going through, Dr. Dunsmore is who bought the ABE program to La Vista. And I just loved the program so much. And he kept talking about the availability of jobs and the possibility of working at the college. And before I ever left La Vista, I requested like to come into class 15 minutes early so I could have a chat with John via the Google Classroom. And so he came on and I was like, all right. I was like, I really want to come to Red Rocks. I really want to be a part of what you have going on there. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, then your first call needs to be to your family and your second call needs to be to me. And I know he says this to a lot of people, but I think there are some of us like you and like myself that actually take him up on that offer. So what ended up happening was I ended up going to ACRC. I went to community after having been at La Vista, and I called my parents, let them know I was there, and then I called Dr. Dunsmore and I said, "Hey, I'm at ACRC and I need to come to the college and I don't have money for a bus ticket. The train is too far. I need you to come and pick me up and take me to Red Rocks tomorrow." There was like this giant pause at the other end of the phone line because I don't think he was really anticipating me calling and saying, "You need to take me to Red Rocks tomorrow." But that man showed up for me, and
Mhm.
he sent an email because the cool thing was too, like the halfway house, I was supposed to be on hold for several days. That
Mhm.
when you get there, and he sent an email to the director and said, "Hey, I need to get Colleen up to campus." She already knew um, because she had talked to me about the reason that they had taken me at ACRC was because they wanted me to teach GED there. And so she already knew that I had this heavy education background with ABE. So she let me go and he came and picked me up and he taught me the bus schedule and the train schedule. And I would, so I went to Red Rocks that day after. And then I was pretty shameless for 3 straight weeks. I was like, "Hey, are y'all going to hire me today? Hey, when are you going to hire me? Hey, I'm still here. I'm showing up every day. I think you guys need to hire me." And finally, it was like 3 weeks. They had said all along, "We're going to hire you, but maybe the timing's just not right now." And then 3 weeks later, I was standing there talking to John, and then my dean, who means the world to me, Matthew Sweeney, who's another one of my mentors. I was like, "So, are y'all ready to hire me? I can do this for you. I can do this for you. I can do this for you, and I can do that." And Matt he rolled his eyes. He's like, "Fine." He's like, "Let's just get it going. Let's just get the paperwork going." And that's how I started as an adjunct professor at Red Rocks Community College
Nice.
within the prison
Nice.
training program.
I
But
love it.
going back to your class, like your class is what gave me that it was like just that catalyst that if I set my mind to doing something, then I could do it.
That's right. Absolutely. It's all about mindset. I'm
Yep.
constantly telling people that we get the power to choose each thought we put into our mind. And if we create a vision for our life and we actually pursue it with action, we
Mm-hmm.
have to put in that work. You never know, like you can
Yep.
transcend any limitation that you've previously placed upon yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to believe in your capabilities, and
Absolutely.
you're a walking example of that.
Thank you.
So since then, you've created the Dream Initiative. I mean, you're
Yes.
doing so much stuff. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that and your promotion. Like, you're
Yeah.
doing great things.
Absolutely. So actually, while I was at La Vista, there was something that I noticed, and I'd be out on the yard and someone would have left. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, I would see them again.
Mhm.
And so I decided at that point that I wanted to get to know people and that I wanted to know why they were back and what happened. Like I wanted to know where was this place that was having people come back? Like what were they missing? So I started ordering those black and white composition books off
Yes.
of Canteen. And I'll tell you what, I started filling them up. I just started talking to people. I must have talked to 300 or 400 people while I was at La Vista, just asking questions. My mind had started through ABE, through Plant Your Energy, my mind had really started to become inquisitive, and I thought there's got to be something that is missing. So I started interviewing people about their experiences at La Vista, talking to them about if it was their first time being incarcerated, if it was their second. I look at myself. My first stint with being justice involved did not involve going to prison, but I'm a statistic. I am part of those crazy RAND statistics that say, oh, within, 3 years, 28% of you are going to go back. Within 5 years, it's like 65. And then it goes up, I think, even close to like 79, 80%. I was one of those statistics. I had an 11-year gap in between, well, not 11, I think it was like 9 or 10 gap in between my first justice involvement to when I ended up going to prison. And I look at myself and I look at all the women and I'm like, it's because we didn't get it right the first time when we left. We weren't ready to make those changes that we needed to make to face ourselves and really start making those internal changes, because I believe that it's all about mindset. So how Dream came about was by interviewing people. I must have filled up 6 or 7 of those notebooks talking to people. And then I continued to doing it at the halfway house. People would run away from me. They would see me coming down the hall and I'd have my little notebook and they'd be like, no more questions coming. And I'd be like, but just one more. I thought of something else. And they were like, no. so so I took all that information that I had gathered over, I think I gathered it over probably like a year and a half. And I just started putting the pen to paper. And I think that there are two things about Dream and how it came about. Dream stands for dedication, routine, education, action, and mentality. And what I realized was is that there's two different pieces to it. There's that reentry piece that does the resume writing,
Mhm.
how to get your Colorado state ID, how to talk about insurance, how to interview for a job. But the thing of it is that if you don't have that mind piece correct, or that you're not working on it, all those other things are going to crumble. And so that's how Dream came about. I just took all this information and listen to people, and I try to listen to people and I try to listen to what they need, and Dream will forever be evolving. um we started out with one iteration with it in 2025. The exciting thing about Dream is we've gotten Dream in front of, I believe our totals between 25 and 26 were 436 people at CDOC that we've gotten Dream in front of. And then I came up with another idea, because we do at Red Rocks, we do the trades too. I do a lot of programs in the trades. So I started packaging my program a little bit differently. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you what you need as far as trade skills. But I'm not only going to give you the trade skills, I'm going to give you the OSHA, and I'm going to give you the soft skills, and I'm going to give you the dream. So I approached Lee Burrows, who is another one of my mentors, and I said, hey, can we start packaging our programs differently? I said, you're going to have a lot more success if people realize that difference between reentry and reintegration. And she agreed to it. And so that's how Dream has been getting out. I'm super excited. Out of those 400 plus people, we Dream has a 97.5 likability. And people are clamoring for it. And I think and I know how inmate.com works.
Yeah.
I hear about it even when I go to facilities that we haven't even had Dream in yet. They're like, "Hey, when's your program coming here?" So,
Cool. I love that. I love that. So just to back up a little bit, plant your energy is about facing your reality, doing
mhm.
something different, moving forward. When did you personally realize that you couldn't keep on that same path that you were on mentally, emotionally anymore?
Yeah, and I think it comes from I just realized that when I was incarcerated, I didn't want to just serve time, that I wanted to become someone different. That if I had
Mhm.
stayed on that trajectory, I was just going to keep ending up back in prison for making poor decisions,
Mhm.
poor financial decisions. And um I look back and I see that, prison wasn't the place where my life ended. I think it's a place when I think here's the crux of it. I think it's when I stopped running away from myself, and I
Mhm.
realized that couldn't. I was trying to fix everybody else around me, and I needed to fix
Mhm.
myself. I don't need to fix other people, and that's when it just really clicked for me, that it my job in life isn't to fix other people. It was to fix myself. And my job in life, and there's a big difference, I believe, between fixing and helping. And
Yes.
so I think I realized that I could take all that energy that I put into fixing something, and I can turn it into like hope, and I could turn it into resilience, and I could turn it into getting people back in touch with their dreams. And that's why I think even the name, the Dream Initiative, is so important to me, because it touches so many different aspects. But what Dream represents to me is and hope, resilience, and um, just really grabbing a hold of who you are.
So with that being said, what does dreaming again actually require from someone who's been in survival mode for so long?
Well, first of all, yeah, and I think that this is super important, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I think dreaming at times can be terrifying. To allow yourself to dream can be terrifying, especially when you have been in survival mode for so long. You really have to open yourself up to being able to dream again. And I think that dreaming, it's getting to that point where you can be vulnerable again. I think we go through our lives so long when you're in survival mode, you aren't vulnerable. You're protecting yourself. You're putting that armor up every day. And so being able to dream again means that you're able to make yourself vulnerable to your dreams, to other people, to your situations, and then taking those dreams and moving forward. I think when you're in survival mode, you realize that if you don't dream, because if you don't dream, you can't be disappointed in your life, and you can't be disappointed in what's going on around you, because survival, I think, teaches us that the less effort you put into something, or the less dreaming you put into something, the less likely you are to get hurt. And if you're not getting hurt, then you're not being vulnerable, because let's face it, the world is full of vulnerabilities. And the
Yes.
only way to open yourself up to dreaming again is to make yourself vulnerable.
Yes, which is why that is a part of my own curriculum because it's such an important piece of being able to move forward.
Hmm.
You have to have that vulnerability piece. And I think that that's a challenge for so many people, especially men.
Hmm.
And so I really like to hit on that. And as you're talking, that's what I love about our relationship is that my curriculum and your curriculum are so like they could just be so interconnected. There's so
Hmm.
many parallels, there's so many things that tie in together. And So I really hope that we have an opportunity to collaborate in the future still,
Yep,
which, for those people watching, we always are talking about that, looking for
absolutely.
opportunities to where we can, I could even, we've talked about me running her dream initiative curriculum as well. And we're hoping that someday some of those things will come to life where we can keep expanding our influence with the people that we can help in different capacities. And so, always exciting to know that we could just keep building. And again, I always preach that that comes from self discipline, which you are a shining example of, because just like even buying your composition notebooks, writing in them every day, it's almost like a sociological experiment. I have a part of my degree focused for my bachelor's was sociology, so it took me back to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, doing that research, and then look what you built from that. And that all started with a little seed that was planted in your mind about just, hey, I want to create something that's helping other people, and now look at what it's become, and I
Yep,
can imagine where it will go. So it's pretty fantastic. So you actually work inside the prisons, right?
I do.
So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about your work in there.
So we go in, we do lots of different things at Red Rocks. We do Dream. We do run the ABE program, and then we are running a lot of. I think that the skill trades are kind of the wave of the future in correctional education, and I say that because people getting out of incarceration really, let's face it, they need jobs that are living wage. Living wage jobs are so important for keeping people out.
Mhm.
So one of the areas that we are heavily focused on right now are the skill trades, and that would be HVAC, construction. We're running we're running two programs right now. We're over at the youthful offender system right now doing HVAC training, and those students will get their 608 certification. They will get their basic refrigeration, and they'll get HVAC excellence, and they'll get OSHA, and they will get Dream, so that when they're leaving, and these are all the youngsters that we're doing this for, and I call them youngsters because I think most everybody over at YOS is younger than 21. We're hoping to set them up for success. We're also trying to do some wraparound jobs for them, and getting them into job placement. Um, and then also with the ABE curriculum, we've worked really hard with the Colorado Department of Education. An interesting fact is that when you go through the ABE program with Red Rocks, felons cannot hold the A of the ABEA. That's the authorization. So we worked on it for the last, I would say, 8 months to a year with the Department of Education, and we were actually able to codify with them that our program still makes our teachers who are graduating teachers of merit. And we have worked with them to create a repository for our students where employers can go and say, oh, yeah, this student does have this. We're calling it the ABEC, and the two programs mirror each other. So we're trying to create jobs there. We just started a core construction program. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing at Red Rocks to really try to um, facilitate the whole package: the credentialing, the soft skills, the reentry, the reintegration, and we're moving towards job coaching and job navigation. So, and I believe it's up to the community colleges to do that. We have the ability to do it. And the reason that we have the ability to do it is because we're not tied up in the academic side of the house. Don't get me
Mm.
wrong, if anybody from Red Rocks is watching this, I love the academic side of the house, but there is so much more flexibility on the non-academic side of the house.
Sure. Now, obviously, I'm going to hop in here because you hit me right in the heart with the HVAC.
That's what he
So
does.
yeah, so I did in
Awesome.
prison. Community college was doing the HVAC program for us. So obviously, we got our basic COPs in HVAC. We also did HVAC excellence with the ESCO group, and we did
Mhm.
get our EPA 608s. My question would be, how much hands-on training are these people getting over there? Because realistically, our program was small, but our teacher made it huge where we were able to do a lot of hands-on in the classroom as well as on the prison equipment itself.
Yes.
That helped a tremendous amount of people. I think the recidivism rate for the people in that class is minuscule at best. I know more people that make 100K a year now once they took that class than anywhere else besides possibly a roofing program I know that's going
Right.
on.
And that's hands-on is a big part of our program. What we did was the college does offer HVAC on the academic side.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did was Rocky Mountain Education Center. So I'm employed by Red Rocks Community College, but my department is the Rocky Mountain Education Center, and we are workforce. So workforce purchased a whole bunch of HVAC equipment. And lately, I've been joking because I feel like a long haul trucker these days because we have two trailers and we load those trailers up with our HVAC equipment or our core construction equipment and we take it to the facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a mobile lab.
Yeah.
And then we load up all the equipment, take it down, they get hands on. And then I do believe that some of the students who do go through the HVAC program, there's always positions available within
Mm-hmm.
maintenance, the physical plant and whatnot within CDOC. I don't know that I know that our students are starting to promote themselves to be
Yeah.
able to work with them because they are gaining the hands-on skills. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, we have two trailers and they've been all over the state of Colorado. I've been to Pueblo, Canyon City, and what I was really excited about is CDOC is really, and Cheryl, I think you'll love this. We're really getting in there with the women. We just finished at Denver Women's. We did the program at La Vista, and we did the program for the girls over at YOS. And that just meant so much to me that we're actually getting these skill trades in for the women who just do not get as much programming as the men.
Oh, it was such a gripe. I mean, for my 26 years inside, that was one at the top of the list of things that we would say, the men always get all the trade stuff. And so I'm really excited to hear that that's changing.
Yes.
And that's an interesting way that you're doing it to kind of have the mobile labs. That's very
Mhm.
different than what's going on in Arizona. But it's good to know that there are things happening in other places and that Colorado has kind of evolved with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love to hear that. So you work in the system, you do a lot of education stuff, but there's also personal transformation as a piece of your work. Where do you see the biggest gap between what the system provides and what people actually need internally to change their trajectory?
I think that, and I think that systems is really interesting because I think that systems provide resources, but what people are missing is that people need relationships. They
Mm-hmm.
need, systems provide resources, people need relationships, systems offer education, but if people don't have somebody that believes in them and that they belong in that classroom, it becomes stagnant. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that when a system provides jobs training, we also need to provide that confidence for somebody to be able to walk into that interview. If they don't have the confidence to walk into the interview, they are not going to be successful. And that's why I'm packed that's the pinnacle of dream is putting it with the HVAC programs.
Mm-hmm.
It's putting it with the construction programs because dream is what's giving people that confidence to go into that job interview, to go to even apply for that job, to know how to talk about their crime when they approach that job interview. So systems, I think, are fantastic, but we need resilience. We need leadership. We need to teach people a new identity, and we need to teach people that you can get a job with as a felon, and that there are so many jobs out there. But if we're not teaching, I call it a crosswalk. And if we're not doing that crosswalk between the skills and the soft skills
Mm-hmm.
and the dreaming and the hope and the resilience, you're not. we're not we're not providing for those students what they really need to make lasting change.
Sure. What I also noticed that works, and it works well, is getting what I guess you could call them testimonials from people that actually went through these programs or and are successful. We've had a great opportunity where a lot of us are able to go back into the prison to talk
Mhm.
to the population, not only just the people that are in the class, but the population at whole, to get them excited, get them encouraged, get them in these programs, change their mindset to springboard forward. Because realistically, at the end of the day, I want the next guy coming behind me to step on my back and get better. And then the next guy to
Absolutely.
step on both of our backs and pull everybody up else out of that system. Is there
Yes.
something like that that you guys are doing to bring at least other people back into, or at least virtually, to talk to people about, hey, I've done this, you know who I am because I was right here with you, and this is what I can do, this is what you can do as well.
Yes. And that's what I love about Red Rocks so much. Like Red Rocks is super committed.
Hmm.
I will say that the college as a whole is very committed to our department. They hired me. They've hired David Carrillo. They hired Cheryl. We've hired probably 4 or 5 other people who were formerly incarcerated. And I know for myself, it's very interesting to me, something that you just touched on. I think the last class I did, I know a lot of people at La Vista, like Cheryl, and when you are going in for a program, like they know you're there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this really
Yeah.
weird phenomenon because the last class that I taught there, I actually did not know any of the women in the class. And I noticed at first they're like, who's this woman coming in here trying to talk to us about this fluffy dream stuff and about
Hmm.
resilience? And then when I said to them, when I was introducing myself, because nobody was paying attention to me, and I said, yeah, I used to be a resident here. And then all of a sudden I looked out and I saw little heads like boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
And everybody was like laser focused at that point. And then when my program is a 2-day program, and I went back the next day, and then, apparently they had asked around about me. And then they came back the next day and they're like, well, so and so and so and so said to tell you hello. And then
Yeah.
so and so and so and so is going to come by and see you. And by the end of the day, I had like a line out the door.
Mhm.
And it's that because you are that hope, you are that
Yeah.
resilience. I view us as beacons of hope for people who are on
Hmm.
the inside, so that they know that they can come out and they can do what Cheryl is doing, they can do what you're doing, Mark, they can do what I'm doing, they can do what David Carrillo is doing. And then the other neat thing that Adams State University is doing is they have David Carrillo was the first incarcerated professor in the United States. There are now Serena Ahmad, who's the first female incarcerated professor, and they have another Greg Bowers, and they are folks who are teaching on the inside. They're making the same wages as people on the outside who are teaching at Adams State. And we at Red Rocks are adopting that same philosophy with a new program that we have for the skill trades, where we're going to start having incarcerated navigators, and we're going to be paying them the minimum wage that's based in Denver. And I just think that the more that colleges can get in there and can do that work and use people like Cheryl, like you, Mark, like myself, like David, we are the people that have to carry it forward.
Yeah.
CDOC can't do what we can do.
That's right. That's right. That's to see the progression and the evolution of how that's playing out is really beautiful. And yeah, this isn't about me, but I also walked away from the Adams State job where I was going to get to create the humanities
Mhm.
curriculum to basically teach the people inside to do exactly what has happened, to
Yeah.
be inside, to be making the same money as a person on the outside, and to be teaching their peers. And
Yeah.
so that peer support element is so powerful. And I didn't even know what peer support was when I walked out of prison. I'd never heard of it.
Hmm.
It is such a great tool that has been developed in so many ways. There's peer support for veterans, there's peer support for addiction, different kinds of trauma. Like it's gone, there's so many levels to it. My job outside of Plant Your Energy is working and doing peer support work. And there's a lot of power in us being able to reach back in the way you get to go to the prisons. I would love to get something started in Arizona where I can go in with my program and just keep in our own little ways planting those seeds to help other people build their confidence and succeed. And what you said about, yeah, it is. DOC likes to focus around the trades. And I get that because it gives people a pathway to a job. Mark is such a powerful example of that. He took his HVAC class inside, then he helped run it or teach it till he left. And then he got out and he got the job with a really great company in Phoenix. And yeah, he's been able to, I mean, he has a paid off car. We've bought a home. It's not all about money, but you do need money to be safe. That's a
Well,
piece of the success. And
yeah.
so being able to go back in and lift the next person up. Now they buy tools, the guys. And I'd like to add that he works with all of his friends that they were in prison together. He's gotten these guys jobs and he helps lift them up and he answers the phone 24 hours a day for these guys. And, walking them through a call, and then they learn the knowledge and then they get to walk the next guy through the call, and they just have this really beautiful thing going where
Well, it all started with Gerald.
Gerald, which is his best buddy, and Gerald got him a job, and Mark just really, really rose to the occasion, and that was the dedication and the discipline and the hard work that he does. That's why we have a beautiful home now. And it's not all about the material things, but I know how it feels to come out of prison and to stress about finances.
Yeah.
But again, which is what I point out in my book, because sometimes I feel like the trades are almost focused on exclusively, and that always bothered me, which is why I created my curriculum, because I feel like the mindset piece is the very most important thing. And I say it in the book that if you don't transform your mindset, you can have all the job skills in the world and you're going to go right back to your toxic cycles.
Yep,
Yeah, they kind of
absolutely.
they go both hand in hand, because obviously you do need to have a right mindset, because you get out, you get a big paycheck, next thing you know, you're right back to doing what you've always done. But if you don't have that avenue to get out of the stress of what am I going to do right now, because a lot of people don't understand. I don't know how it is in Colorado, but in Arizona, when you get out of prison, you get a check for $100, a shirt that's on your back, pants that are on in the shoes that you had while you were there, and you're kicked out the door and good luck.
That's
So a lot of people get survival mode, and there's like, what am I going to do? What do I know how to do? Turn right back around to that other avenue. So when they get the job, they're able to kind of breathe a little bit easier. And if they have the soft skills and the mental capacity through transformation, they're going to succeed.
And the support.
Obviously, support's huge too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is the same in Colorado. If you're going to the halfway house, they don't even give you the $100 check. But you
Well,
get
the
you
$100
get
check we earn that. We work 20 cent an hour jobs, 30 cent an hour jobs, and they take a piece of that the whole time you're there till you get that $100.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and you just touched on something that's so important, and this is like kind of like where dream comes to life when it's packaged with like an HVAC or an ABE or any other kind of program. And one of the things that I just really dislike, especially about the halfway house, the community corrections, is they just want to shove people into any old job instead of taking the time to see where people's interests lie, taking the time to see if this person could be trained in the skill trades, taking the time to see if gateway, getting someone back into college could be the right move. But no, what always seems to be most important is get a job, get any old job. But then okay, you took someone maybe who was selling drugs before they were incarcerated.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're going and I'm making like $15 an hour doing this when I used to make like,
Yeah.
$1,000 here. Like, where is the equilibrium there? There is no equilibrium. What is that person going to do? They're not going to choose to stay at that $15 an hour job because it's dead. It is a dead end for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that there's just so many different working pieces to it all for the
Mhm.
success of a person. And like you were talking about building the confidence, these people have to believe that they can actually get a job
Mhm.
like Mark has, where you're
Yeah.
making enough money that you don't even have to worry about, oh, can I pay my bills? Am I going to lose my car? Am I going to get evicted
Mhm.
from my place because I can't make it this month because I was pushed into that $15 an hour
Yep.
job.
Yep.
Mhm.
And the other thing too, I think, one of the things when I started my master's degree while I was at community corrections, and through my studies, I have really spent a lot of time focusing on systems, focusing on organizations, and we just really need to do better because I feel like there are three pillars when people leave incarceration. One is stable employment, two is stable housing, and three
Mhm.
is mental health. And even like through some of my in-depth studies that I have been doing on systems and organizations, the problem is that the organizations and the systems are allowing the cracks to come in those three pillars. You
Mhm.
have parole, you have community corrections, and it's almost like you're a cattle, you're on that cattle truck, you're going into that chute, you're doing what they tell you, but they're not even being aware that every time that person meets with you, when they're when you are not supporting them in your organization, those cracks are forming. And when
Mhm.
just one of those three pillars starts to crumble, that's it. That person's going back.
Yeah,
And we need to do a better job with leadership and with organization in supporting people.
absolutely. Absolutely. Which I'm guessing you're going to keep working on
Yep.
doing what you can do in Colorado with that and
Yep.
us as well on what we can do here. And so in your experience, what separates people who go through programs and just survive from the ones who actually
Yeah.
transform their lives long term?
I think that people, you can go through programs, and I think people get robotic about going through programs.
Mhm.
And I think when people that's the problem. When people get robotic, they become stagnant. And I think that if people can become students of their own lives, if we can teach people how to become a student of your own life, that's the basis of, starting to teach success to people. We need
Mhm.
to teach incarcerated people how to stay curious. We need to teach incarcerated individuals how to continue to dream. Um, because you're going to frame that certificate, great, but you can't always rely on motivation. You have to, I think it's like, people who surround themselves with people who challenge them are the people that are successful.
Mhm.
And I think that we have to stop asking how to avoid going back, and we have to start asking, like, how do I build a life that I'm not going to want to run away from?
Yeah.
I think that there's a really big difference in those two questions. And I feel like we need to teach people how to build that new life so that
Mhm.
they're just not constantly in that survival mode again.
That's
Yeah.
it. That is it. Yes. It's like we have to teach people stop looking backwards
And
and
look
stop
forward.
because I feel like that's fear based,
Hmm.
and we could go down so many rabbit holes. Like I could talk to you for days about this stuff.
Yeah.
But instead of living in that fear based mentality where you're so
Mhm.
concerned about, oh, I'm going to go back, I'm going to go back, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not even going to think from that viewpoint.
Mhm.
Instead, what goals can I set? What can I do today to work towards that goal? Who can I put around me that has more knowledge than me, more experience, that can give me some little nugget of wisdom that's going
Mhm.
to give me the inspiration I need to take the next steps?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think where we lose a lot of people is that the piece of that I am very transparent about is it's like that's not easy.
No.
Yeah, it's a bunch of positivity
Mhm.
because we're going to get to this great place where we create the life we always wanted. And when you get there, it feels damn good,
Mhm.
but it is not easy to
Mm.
do. And so that's where I think we lose a lot of people
Mhm.
because they don't have that discipline and the resilience and that grit
Mhm.
and maybe even the support. And again, we could go into all the variables of that, but
Mhm.
you have to build your confidence, like you were talking about. To say, I know that I can get to these places, but I have got to push through those hard times because they're gonna come when you're working for what you want.
And they're
Yep.
all hard times, right? That's why I try to tell a lot of people at the HVAC programs as well. They don't understand. They say, okay, you make a lot of money, you go work from this time to this time. No, friend. We'll go to work at 7 o'clock, sometimes not get done till 2, 3 o'clock morning in the morning the next day.
Yep.
You fight for what you want and you
Yep.
keep fighting for it. And I tell people constantly, it's like the first year and a half I was at my company, my goal every morning was to get up, do the best job I could, and not get fired. I
Yep.
was so afraid I would get fired that I ran with this say yes to anything mentality, and it's worked.
Mm.
And it's built a good core in myself and helped me spring other people forward and just say yes to just do something. Do
Mhm.
something.
Well, and I also think what's really important too, and like I share with the women when I go in and the men that I go in, I want them to see me as a beacon of hope, but I also want them to know that it's not easy. Like
Mhm.
I was talking to a class recently when I applied for my doctorate. There was this one box on the application, and this just shows like I'm super successful. I have a great job. I make great money, but this one box on this crazy application, have you ever been incarcerated? Well, I during that one moment, and this is what like Dream I hope teaches people. Here I am like, oh, now I have to find a new school because they asked me that question. And then I was like, that's so irrational. Okay, so they asked me if I'd been incarcerated. And then I'm like, yep, I have. And that's what is going to make me an excellent person for this particular program for a doctorate of education in educational innovation. But it's learning how to take those triggers because I could have just been like, oh, I can't do this, and just gone on and applied for a school that didn't have that box
Yeah.
on. So I'm real with them. I'm like, I have triggers every day that I have to work through. So,
Yeah. I think that's an important piece of a person who's been incarcerated's journey is being able to take that ownership without all the shame and
yes.
said, this is who I am. Yes, I have a past. Yes, I've made mistakes, but I am not defined by them. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm standing here before you, fighting for this opportunity to
Mhm.
progress in my life because I want better for myself.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
So, in wrapping up today, I always
Mhm.
like to ask people moving forward, how are you going to continue to plant your energy in your life?
Well, I think that I've learned that every single person, like everybody makes mistakes. Obviously, for those of us who went to prison, our mistakes are a bit more visible than the average person. But I've learned that people are just we're so much more than our worst decisions that we ever made. And there's a point that I want to make. I always say that education in place of incarceration. And I've learned that education unlocks opportunity, but hope unlocks people. And if we can unlock that opportunity and we can unlock that hope within people, it will create safer communities. and that lasting change, we have to start seeing human potential and not permanent labels. So my hope for Dream is that we can continue with human potential and just get rid of these daggone labels that people carry around and drag them down. And I feel like my own life, you know, it's my second chance. It's not about redemption. It's about discovering who, the question that I asked myself, that question that changed my life is who I can become, and who everyone can, and teaching people that they can become something different, something positive than who they are now. So
Absolutely.
that's what,
Absolutely.
you know, I don't believe in just education. I believe in education, but I also believe in hope. I believe in dignity. I believe in identity, and I believe in possibility.
Yes, love that. Well, thank you for coming on today. I have a dog that's getting impatient here.
All right.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
yeah, it was such a pleasure to speak with you. Hopefully, we'll be able to do something together here in the next year.
You
And
know,
obviously, we'll keep in touch.
absolutely. And every opportunity that I see, I'm like, can I fit Cheryl into this? And I'm not gonna say um that we might do something. I'm gonna say I'm putting it out into the universe that we will do something,
That's
and
right.
that it will manifest itself.
That's right. Absolutely. I love that. Well, again, thanks for coming on. And for anybody watching, we'll hope that you will subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thank you.